Hello, my name is Keith, aka LoLByTheNumbers, and welcome to another 2014 League of Legends World Championship video analysis. Once again, this is a video analysis, not a shoutcast, so there will be plenty of spoilers. I'll be focusing primarily on macro level strategy, looking at team compositions, their win conditions, how teams do, don't, and should pull them off. We'll be looking at map movements, talking a little bit about rotations, especially through the jungle when sieging tier 2 turrets, as well as looking at individual lane matchups, item choices, and the occasional individual play when it's apparent that it is paramount to the win or victory of a team. For this match, we have LMQ versus Samsung Blue. This is their second match in the group stages. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into picks and bans. On LMQ side, we see Zed, Yasuo, Lee Sin banned. This is another one of those games where we're seeing a lot of the top laners not banned. They're just being left open, which is fairly unusual. We see two targeted bans at Dade, taking out Zed, taking out Yasuo. Yasuo being played to great effect in their last match, and knocking out the Lee Sin. On the Samsung Blue side, we see Zillion and Alistair. These are fairly standard bans. Samsung Blue ban them almost all the time, no matter what side they're on. They don't like playing them. And they're very strong champions. They also ban out Thresh. They've put a lot of priority on Thresh throughout the group stages, and which is honestly smart. He's been doing very well. LMQ ended up picking up Nami first pick. Nami's fairly solid. No real bad things to say about her. Janna might have been a better pickup, but really it's just up to playstyle and who you're going to go with. They're both really strong champions. Samsung Blue side, we see Maokai being picked up. First, Maokai being very strong, providing a solid front line. Just one of the three trifecta up top. We see Twitch being picked up. It's a little early for Twitch, but we know a lot of the Korean teams play him to great effect. Deft will play him very well this game as well. On LMQ's side, we see Jarvan being picked up. This gives more fight potential to LMQ in the early game, outside of the Kha'Zix pickup. It also does very well against Twitch, sectioning him off, getting him trapped in, making for solid ganks. The unfortunate part is Twitch does get a very large range, so he's not as affected as, say, other carries are from Cataclysm. We do see this paired up with Rumble. And this is very good. Rumble and Cataclysm, great synergy, lots of strength there. This does mean that Jarvan and Rumble can essentially shut down Twitch if they choose, if he flashes down, or provide great protection by locking up Rengar Maokai in Equalizer. There's several options for LMQ to run with these two champions. On Samsung Blue's side, we see them picking up Rengar and Janna. Very strong picks. Rengar is wasn't played during the North American LCS very often, and when he was, it wasn't to good effect. It's a great pick in that sense, as LMQ don't have much experience against it. He's also just a very strong jungler, providing engage, providing a good solid front line. Goes really well with the Maokai pick. Goes well with the Janna pick. Janna letting Rengar speed in through the lanes even faster with her passive. It's good synergy here. On LMQ side, we see Kog'Maw and Orianna, two pretty strong champions. Kog'Maw, as a hyper carry, he gets into his mid-game power much sooner than Tristana, which was the silliest pick last game, especially since he ends up building Trinity Force. Orianna, good all-around champion, great at pretty much everything she does, farming, harassing, late-game scaling. Goes great with Jarvan for the ball delivery system, goes great with Rumble for pulling people into a group for his ultimate. All around strong pick. On Samsung Blue's side, we see Kassadin being picked up. And this is an interesting pickup. Normally you don't see Kassadin all that often. He's got a lot of weaknesses, but he's a decent pick against Orianna. He'll be able to farm pretty safely, as it's a little hard for her to harass him, especially with his magic shield. So he just needs to sit there and scale up. He also goes well against LMQ's team because LMQ's only hard CC is pretty much Nami, so Cassin has to focus on dodging Nami bubbles. Other than this, there's no real lockdown. Jarvan ultimate isn't going to work. His flag and drag is pretty predictable, as is Nami's bubble, so he actually works pretty well in this composition. Or rather, in this composition and against LMQ's team. There's one thing I don't particularly like. I don't particularly like in this pick and ban phase that LMQ didn't grab Maokai. I think they would have had a stronger team if they had picked up Maokai. I'm not sure Samsung Blue would have played the Rumble. And I think this would have allowed... It would have been a denial, and they still could have picked up Janna if Samsung Blue picked up Nami. So I don't think Nami was necessarily a necessary first pick. But it did allow LMQ the opportunity to see more of Samsung Blue's picks and then respond to them. So let's look at team compositions. LMQ have drafted a very 5v5 heavy team fight composition. They've got a lot of power in Jarvan, Rumble, and Orianna. They work well together. They've got this ball delivery system. They can group people up with Orianna Ultimate, prep that for Rumble. Equalizer, Nami Bubble can follow up for even more CC. You can lock them down in Cataclysm. There's just a lot of strength in the 5v5 squad of LMQ. The one disadvantage, though, is they're kind of lacking a front line. Their entire front line is Jarvan, so LMQ have to play more tricky with their team composition than full on all-out brawl. Without a solid front line, you see on Samsung Blue's team, you're going to have Rengar, Maokai, and Caston all in their face. So the back line of LMQ are just going to have to be prepared for that. There's also not a lot of peel on LMQ's side, so what they should do is probably plan on using Equalizer and Orianna Ult on themselves when Samsung Blue go in to sort of pull them off, get them stuck, get them ready for a Nami bubble. Use Jarvan to Cataclysm Twitch, and then have him flag and drag away. Try and lock Twitch out away from the fight and deal with him later. This is going to be particularly difficult when Twitch's flash is up, but this is just something that LMQ need to keep track of. So LMQ need to look for these 5v5 fights, and they need to keep shoving 5v5 fights down Samsung Blue's throat. They're going to be much stronger in them until Samsung Blue reach super late game. And it's going to be a way for LMQ to take dragons, to take turrets. Especially since they're running Kog'Maw, who has solid range. With this W, they can easily siege out turrets. They also have the only poke in the game with Kog'Maw. Samsung Blue having no poke of their own, and having bad wave clear. What this means is with LMQ's 5v5 fight potential, especially with Rumble and the strength at Dragon, and since Maokai and Kassadin are going to hit power dips in their Rod of Ages phases, LMQ have the opportunity to sort of start to snowball this game towards a win around the 11-minute mark. As soon as that second dragon comes up, that's going to be one of LMQ's strongest points. They should take that second dragon, back off, wait till Kog'Maw gets his Trinity Force, and then as soon as Kog'Maw picks up his Trinity Force, LMQ should start looking to pressure turrets. Just siege them down. Just be very careful. Don't overextend with Kog'Maw for that last hit. You always want to go and get maybe 1 or 2, maybe at the max 3, and then back out. You never want to let yourself be open to getting caught. And we'll see this actually happen later on, as well as an opportunity for LMQ to potentially have really turned that fight even though Kog'Maw gets caught. So I'm just going to point out some of the early game movements now that I've talked about LMQ's team. But actually, let me say one more thing about it. LMQ needs to take this 5v5 composition, get the dragons, then start pressuring turrets and keep up the pressure. As soon as Kog'Maw gets his Trinity Force, LMQ should never stop attacking Samsung Blue. They should always be going from turret to turret to turret and just putting on that pressure and ability to outfight Samsung Blue in the 5v5. They really need to make sure that Samsung Blue don't pull off their high mobility, high pick composition. And they just do so by keeping grouped up. I want to point out real quick, Orianna's mana, she's completely out, and there's really no reason for her to be completely out of mana. She's not going to be able to force this Kassadin away, especially since he's starting Flask. The best she can do is seek to just zone him out and auto attack him. Save her mana for when the ganks come in, save it for necessary CS. Just try and get as much harass through the auto attacks rather than anything else. That way, if a gank comes in, if you're going to get one, she would have mana. Right now, she just doesn't have anything. Leaves her very vulnerable. So, going to go back and talk about the level 1 play a little bit in this match. Samsung Blue, once again, against LMQ, initiate a wave swap, but LMQ respond a lot better this time. They take Dragon. Rumble doesn't keep returning top. He's not getting denied like he was last game. We see some interesting plays. One of the reasons why Samsung Blue sent Twitch top, and we see this a lot throughout Worlds, is Twitch wants this sort of opportunity for freeform to scale up. He's not a big lane bully. He normally gets beat out when he goes to lane. In this situation, it would have been fairly even up until levels 3 to 4, then it really would have turned into LMQ's favor. But what this also does is it allows Twitch to reach his level 6 and to get level advantage over the other team, as he wants to be an assassin. It's very beneficial for him to have the level advantage. It just makes him that much stronger earlier. And this is a big reason why teams will send Twitch top even when the matchup is fairly even, simply to get him that level advantage, get him that 1v1 or the 1v0. Let's see. Alright, so let's talk about Samsung Blue's team. Samsung Blue's team have a very heavy pick composition. Every one of their champions is fairly mobile. Janna with her speed. Maokai's just tanky enough to go in. He kind of negates the lack of mobility. But Kassadin and Rengar especially are really great at picks, and they're going to need to look to get them in the mid game. As soon as Rengar hits 6, he's got great potential in almost every lane. There's low mobility on LMQ's side, so he should be able to get in with his ultimate, get the snare, get the follow-up CC and damage from his team, and just end up getting kills with Rengar. Kassadin is also very mobile at level 6. We all know this. He can easily move around the map, though he's going to get pressured by Orianna and kind of get stuck at his turret, or at least that's what Orianna should do against Kassadin. Kassadin is going to have the ability to look for plays in the jungle and other lanes. Anytime Rengar's ultimate is up, Kassadin should probably be looking to follow him to make a solid play. Kassadin and Twitch can also make some really strong plays. Twitch is very good as the assassin is getting picks out. So Samsung Blue want to take their mid-game mobility and roll it around into attacking the neutral objectives of LMQ. Try and find the small 3v3, 2v2 skirmishes, and then look for opportunities in lane for solid ganks as well. And we're going to see a very good play by LMQ. Zhao knows where his team is, so instead of running towards the tower, which would have got him killed because he has no flash right now, he runs towards his team. It's very good map awareness, and it earns LMQ first blood. So right now they've been playing this extremely well. On this slide knockup by Jarvan against Maokai denies Maokai 2 or 3 waves of EXP and gold in the bottom lane. Very well played to stop that teleport. Really hampers this Maokai. But LMQ have this time around have played this early game very well. They've gotten, they haven't traded towers. They've gotten even farm on their ADCs. They've gotten first blood. They've gotten first dragon. Doing everything really strongly. Unfortunately, one problem that's coming up is the second dragon. And LMQ have the timer for this. I really wish they would be going for this dragon really early. I know what they're looking for is to get Ackerman to his level 6, get that Rumble Ultimate and that Equalizer. However, this comes to bite them in the butt. LMQ really should have just gone for Dragon right away instead of looking to wait for this Equalizer. Maokai doesn't have his level 6 either. Everyone's essentially at the same point in the game, but LMQ had the timer. They could have all 5 of them been there right now fighting for Dragon, having taken it. They also don't really get any good wards on it. We see Nami gets 1 in the pit. And here we'll see them come to bite them in the butt. Samsung Blue group up, especially with Maokai bottom, and they're going to take out Dragon. Rumble's TP is also late. As soon as his ultimate came up, he should have TP'd. Waits a good 3 seconds, and this allows Samsung Blue enough time to finish off Dragon. He also misclicks his ultimate, which is unfortunate. And this fight right here is a huge reason why LMQ fall behind and start to lose the game. Kassadin gets a double kill. Samsung Blue get Dragon. This is going to let Kassadin grab his Rod of Ages really quickly. Really removes the sort of weak point of Kassadin from the game and scales Samsung Blue into their later game. One thing I forgot to mention about Samsung Blue's team is that they're going to outscale LMQ's team eventually. Primarily this is going to be in Maokai and Rengar, as they're going to be a very strong front line. Maokai will eventually be a lot stronger than Rumble. Rengar is just going to offer more options as well as more damage and solid tankiness than Jarvan later on as well. Kassadin pick runs fairly even with Orianna, but with having 2 front lines already, this makes Kassadin really strong as he can go in with the front line as well and sow chaos. And once again, we see this fight. The Rebel Ultimate, we chalk it up to a misclick, unfortunately. But Ackerman shouldn't even have used it right there. Even if it had gone in the right direction, it wouldn't have done much. Maybe hit Kassadin, and he should have saved it for the actual fight. So going back to talk about that fight a little bit, simply because it's so important to this game. Because LMQ didn't take that Dragon advantage early on and take it right when it spawns, the whole game just could have been potentially won or lost at that point. Instead of going top on Rumble, they should have just gone straight for Dragon and then let Rumble use his teleport afterwards. They would have had position advantage. They had the timer on the Dragon as well. Even though Rumble didn't have his ultimate, and that's something you really want for that Dragon, Maokai didn't have his ultimate either. And there was still a stronger team fight on LMQ's side, with Jarvan ultimate being stronger than Rengar in the 5v5. You have solid Orianna. Kassadin only had a catalyst to Orianna's AP items. Kog'Maw and Twitch were fairly even, but Kog'Maw could have poked if necessary. I just think there was a stronger potential on LMQ's team to take it, and they kind of threw it away by they wanted too much more is what they wanted. They didn't just want a stronger team fight, they wanted a team fight that could obliterate Samsung Blue. And so this little bit of greed comes to hurt them. Also, with that Dragon fight, the positioning was very bad. You had Kog'Maw and Nami coming up from the bottom lane. They're running into Rengar, into Maokai, into this strong front line, running into this highly mobile Samsung Blue team. Orianna's coming from the mid lane through the jungle, and Jarvan's going over the wall. Orianna's coming through the jungle into the river. Rumble's running straight down the river. LMQ was just so split up, and as a 5v5 fight team, they needed to be grouped up Samsung Blue team. Sorry. Samsung Blue's team thrives in this sort of mobile chaos. Rengar, Twitch with his speed up from his Q, Kassadin with his ultimate, Janna providing move speed for the team. There's just so much ability for Samsung Blue to collapse onto specific targets of LMQ, and that's what we saw. We saw Samsung Blue collapse onto Kog'Maw and Nami and get the kills. Even if LMQ had arrived a little earlier on Rumble to sort of contest the Dragon, LMQ were still all out of positions, and Samsung Blue could have just ditched Dragon, gotten those 2 kills, and then gone back. This is really why LMQ needed to be the initiators for Dragon, not coming into the fight late. If LMQ had properly played this Dragon, they would have been ahead in gold. Instead of being down 500 gold, they probably would have been up 2,000 gold. But now we see things are returning. LMQ are running together very strongly. We see Rumble in the bottom lane. He's properly moving around the map instead of staying split up where he can easily be caught by Rengar and by Maokai. Kog'Maw's about to get his Trinity Force, and LMQ turn to properly play their team composition and move to middle. This is going to be very important. LMQ throughout the game continually group up as 5. They play their composition really well because of this. At times we see them down even 10k going for these 5v5 fights and coming out ahead. They really put a great focus onto their composition, and if it wasn't for this Dragon fight and for this next fight that we're going to see, I really believe LMQ would have come out with the win. On Samsung Blue's side, they have played very well as well. That Dragon especially this Dragon as well. This is another point in which LMQ should have been here to fight. They let 2 Dragons go when they're running a much stronger mid-game team. This is just another unfortunate thing that LMQ let go away. So LMQ, they try and respond. They're like, oh, we lost Dragon, let's go take middle. And they're doing well, but watch Kog'Maw's positioning. He's going to take an extra shot on the turret, and it's really going to hurt him. 1, 2, 3. And here's what my point is before about taking 2 shots, backing off. Maokai gets the flash in. The fight goes pretty well. Unfortunately for LMQ, another unlucky thing, all the kills go to the carries of Samsung Blue. Now we see huge damage coming into Kassadin and Twitch. Once again, LMQ let the fight come at them instead of taking the fight to Samsung Blue. When the replay comes back up, I want you to particularly watch the directions in which LMQ ran. They could have ran up into the Noral corridor in Samsung Blue's jungle, and this would have been huge for LMQ's team. Nami ultimate, Rumble ultimate, Jarvan lockup, Orianna. If they had all ran up, like right now, all go up towards that corridor, they could have locked Samsung Blue into this Rumble equalizer, giant Nami disengage. Everything could have just been a little bit better for them in that small corridor than out in that open. And maybe that would have been enough to turn the fight after getting caught. So on this back from Samsung Blue, we see Kassadin he finishes his Archangel Scepter. Twitch finishes his Yomo Ghostblade. Now they're running 2 items on their carries, and it's not even 20 minutes into the game. This is a huge benefit for Samsung Blue. So going back, right before that fight, I was talking about how Samsung Blue have been playing their composition well. They've gone straight for these Dragons when they've seen that LMQ are out of position. Samsung Blue are not hesitating for these Dragons, and because they're starting them off and forcing LMQ to react, LMQ are coming in directions that allow Samsung Blue to use their high mobility to single out targets on LMQ. That's why they won that first dragon fight. That's what allowed them to just take that easy dragon in the middle, or in the third dragon pretty easily because of the timer, because they saw LMQ was out of position as well. They knew that they would be able to once again collapse onto LMQ's team if LMQ tried to contest it since they were out of position. And here we see LMQ splitting up. This is one thing they don't want to do with their team. Their team is much stronger in the 5v5. So we just saw Rumble get picked off on top by Twitch, Kongma get picked off by Caston on the bottom lane. Even though it's close, we saw a 0-3-0 Kog'Maw almost kill a 5-1-2 Caston. There's a lot of strength still on LMQ's side, even while being behind. And we'll see them recognize this. Ackerman goes top again. Twitch is still there. Gets the easy pick. Now, this is about the time that LMQ realize we can't split up. They playing a little bit into Samsung Blue's team. As mentioned before, Samsung Blue's team is very heavy on the pick compositions. They're able to easily get in, and here we see double stealth coming into play. Just great ability, great use by Samsung Blue of their mobile composition, their ability to single out a target and very quickly kill him. So you got to give a lot of props to Samsung Blue. They played this match really well. So we've been talking about what LMQ could have done. They really needed to play that dragon better. As the game goes on, we're going to see very strong fights coming out of them. Much better play. They kind of rallied themselves, even though they are behind. If LMQ had been ahead, if they had played that second dragon better, this whole game could have been different. They just allowed Samsung Blue to sort of bypass their mid-game weakness. As we look with the Twitch is on, moving into his third item, whereas Kog'Maw hasn't even finished his second. He doesn't even have the BF blade, or rather he's not going for the BF blade. He doesn't have the Bilgewater Cutlass compared to even the BF blade that Twitch has for his third item. So things are looking pretty grim, but we'll see the strength of their composition. Finally LMQ say, alright, we've got picked off enough. Rumble's died twice up top, Kog'Maw bottom, Jarvan in the top. So LMQ decide we're going to group, and this is what they should have been doing. This is what they have to do. They have to stay grouped up. And this is a misplay by Twitch. Flashing over the wall just gets him annihilated. And we see LMQ start to take the fight to Samsung Blue, and even win the fight. While sitting like 7,000, 8,000 gold behind, LMQ are able to get a 3-for-1. They can even turn this into a dragon as well. It's a little bit risky. Caston is really strong. LMQ are going to have to grab it and get out very quickly. If they don't do it fast enough, Caston's going to be able to come in here and clean up. Lucky for LMQ, they do take it fast enough and they're able to split up. Orianna does get caught by Dade. I'm not sure why Orianna ran to the left instead of following her team. Really needed to stay grouped up. Instead, because she does split off, she gets picked off. So LMQ make a great play. The 6k gold lead is now down to only 3.5. They use their 5v5 composition properly. Twitch does make a bit of a bad play. Instead of flashing over, he should have just walked, stayed safe. There was no reason for him really to go in. So where do we go from here with each team? LMQ need to continue shoving their 5v5 team into Samsung Blue's team. It's their only option. If they split up, they're just going to get picked off by the mobility of Samsung Blue. So LMQ are pigeonholed into one single strategy. 5v5 push, 5v5 objective control, always stay 5v5. Samsung Blue, on the other hand, have a lot of options. They're able to sort of split push, they can look for picks, they can try and avoid the 5v5, and they're still going to be fairly strong in the 5v5 fight. With 13 kills on Kassadin and Twitch, with all their damage into their carries, it's Samsung Blue have strong fight potential, even though they do have the weaker 5v5 team. What this means is they can even look to try and take the fight to LMQ. They really shouldn't be. They should be sort of focusing in on other lanes. We see LMQ once again. They turn around after Rengar's ult goes down. They get great damage. They're able to once again take the fight to Samsung Blue's side and go 2 for 1, almost getting a third in Rengar and getting close in Kassadin on the fourth. Samsung Blue should have never tried to initiate that fight. They should recognize that they have the weaker 5v5 and just keep drawing stuff out until Twitch and Kassadin get strong. Well, Twitch and Kassadin get to super late game carries. So well played by LMQ. Great job to go get this damage. They could have taken Baron if Jarvan wasn't so low. Unfortunately, not the case. So just good play to take the fight and get what turret damage they can. See, here we see Samsung Blue should have completely blacked off. Good. Jarvan's able to cover tons of distance. They really just focus this Twitch down. It's smart play. Take out somebody who has half your team's kills, and you're all of a sudden your fight potential is severely neutered. But as we see, because Samsung Blue are so far ahead, it takes LMQ so much of their HP bars, every single one of their skills to fight these 5v5 fights. And even though they're winning and starting to climb back, it's not enough for them to take objectives afterwards. And this is one of the key things in any game to be able to win is after fights you need to take objectives. If you can't take objectives, the fights, while they help, they don't help you grow super far ahead. Especially when the fights go semi-even. If you're only getting an extra 200, 300 gold out of the fight instead of getting the next 1,000 gold from an objective, you're not growing your lead or closing a gap too much. This is why the ability to take objectives after team fights is extremely important. So taking a look at items real quick, Orianna is doing amazing. She's got really strong stuff. I don't like that she's going to pick up Haunting Guys next, particularly because Rumble is going to get Leandri's anyways. This is kind of negating a lot of the damage from Leandri's. One thing I want to point out as well on Kog'Maw's build is he's going Blade of the Rune King second. I'm not particularly fond of this as a choice. In this particular scenario, it's already 27 minutes into the game. You're reaching into this late game area. I feel that as soon as he picked up the Vamp Scepter and then he realized how this game was going, he probably should have switched over to an Infinity Edge second. Get some of that stronger fight potential, the longer DPS over time. Trinity Force, Blade of the Rune King is really good against Twitch. When Twitch wants, if they're going to run this assassination, it allows Kog'Maw to fight back against picks. However, it does hamper his late game potential. And this is what LMQ should have been banking on, is moving into this late game potential, because they are going to have to fight a stronger late game team of Samsung Blue. Kog'Maw's going to need all the damage he can get. Chalice into Mikhail's is going to come from both supports, and this is strong on both sides. I think it's a little less strong for Janna. They're only looking at Jarvan knockup, Nami knockup, you can't really stop these with the Mikhails. Instead, a Locket of the Iron Solari would have been much stronger for Janna to pick up, providing the shield as well as great magic resist against the AoE of Rumble and the AoE of Orianna. And here we see Samsung Blue's strength coming into play. They actually used their high mobile composition really well to get some good flanks. They were able to get into Kog'Maw and Orianna and really hurt LMQ's strong points. If Samsung Blue weren't so far ahead, this probably wouldn't have worked since they were diving into the 5v5, but they get a great flank onto LMQ. So it was very well played way to sort of negate some of the weaknesses of your composition, and that's what Samsung Blue did. So back to the point, Locket of the Iron Solari would have been a lot stronger than Mikhail's Crucible for Janna. Would have given that magic resist that his team so desperately needs against Rumble and against Orianna, as well as still providing HP through the shield. It wouldn't quite have been as much as a Mikhail's, but it would have been AoE shield instead of just the single target. On top of the magic resist, it would have provided more effective HP for Twitch as protection, rather than the 15% heal plus I forget what it is on Mikhail's. So just note, Locket generally greater than Mikhail's unless you're using Mikhail's for the CC removal, but there's no CC removal that it can actually be used on against LMQ, so it just turns into a single target heal. LMQ do the proper thing once again. Even though they just got aced, they charge into Samsung Blue's team. This is the only thing that LMQ can do, and they have properly recognized it. This is why I have to give a lot of props to LMQ in this game, is they truly understood their team composition and truly understood what Samsung Blue's team composition could do to them. It's just a little unfortunate that they didn't understand this from the very beginning of the game, and it took until about the 20-minute mark where they started playing it correctly. But now they have, and you have to give them props. This is something you have to recognize in games, is where your team's strength lies against the other teams, and then never let up. Aside from in these 5v5 team compositions where you constantly want to be putting the pressure on, this is also something to know if you're ever playing a poke composition. Poke compositions in particular, poke siege rather, are compositions which have to continually put the pressure on the other team. They always have to be at the turrets. Anytime you're not, they're really losing out on potential opportunities, potential denials to the other team, just wins and whatnot. You have to focus on your team composition's win conditions and their power, rather than moving to side lanes and delaying the game. So at this point, both teams are kind of working well towards winning. LMQ, they've taken a fight, they've gotten Baron, they've been properly playing their composition. Samsung Blue have been playing it a little bit improperly. They are continually going into these 5v5 fights. The only reason that Samsung Blue is coming out ahead or even in these fights, or not losing completely, is because they have the gold lead, because they have, and they got it so early that Caston is completely scaled up. He's got his Seraph's Embrace, he's got his Full Rod of Ages, he's got Azanios. He's a very deadly force in this match. So it's lucky for Samsung Blue that LMQ played the Dragons in properly, but it's also good of them that they played the Dragons so well in the early game. They really needed that early game buffer to get them past that weak point, and we see in these team fights how important that was. LMQ could go take top turret right now. This would be an option. It would allow them to move as a team through a nice little corridor. They get a little extra gold. But you can't really fault them for staying at this mid turret with their siege potential with Kog'Maw to knock down turrets with the poke that the other team doesn't have. And since they have Baron buff for the regen, they have stronger power than Samsung Blue. But it's really hard for them to get in to take out this turret. So while both options are kind of neutral of each other, the benefit is if they can get down this turret, then they can get to that inhibitor. The top turret would have been guaranteed and would have been some gold, but what LMQ really need instead of gold at this situation is a bit more of map pressure. So we do see neither side picks up a locket, and it would have been good for both. LMQ should have grabbed a locket of the Iron Solari on somebody. I feel, I don't think it would have worked on Jarvan. He has to go after Twitch, so it's all about Nami getting gold to grab this locket, and that's really hard if you've already built into Mikhail's Crucible. And Mikhail's works for LMQ's side because there's a lot of lockdown on Samsung Blue's side. Rengar and Maokai in particular, it would be very beneficial for Kog'Maw to have that CC removal when Maokai goes in for the snare or Rengar gets that sudden leap. Just allow him to get a little bit of his mobility off. Here we see Samsung Blue try to get a flank. LMQ get a little bit nervous and burn a flash, burn Nami ultimate when they really didn't need to. This is going to come back in, if I remember correctly, this bites them in the butt. As soon as this Nami ultimate is down, LMQ should have backed off. They really need it to sort of delay the engagement from the backline of Samsung Blue. So they really shouldn't be fighting without it, and here's a big reason why. We see why. Samsung Blue are able to get the flank when Jarvan goes in, and LMQ essentially just get raid wiped. If Nami had had her ultimate up, she could have thrown it towards Twitch, so it would have stopped a lot of his damage. It also would have denied Rengar and Maokai going in a little bit, provided her the opportunity to get a solid bubble. It's just a little bit of a mistake by LMQ for not backing off without this ultimate. They need everything in their kit since they're playing from behind. And also we see Jarvan going in against this Maokai. It's just a bad play as well. He really needs to be on top of this Twitch. He almost got them both in, but that would have been just by luck. So, a little bit overzealous by LMQ. And it's unfortunate because it turns this one opportunity for them to really start to take control of the game into another situation in which Samsung Blue get ahead. And here's the point where items are really going to start mattering even more so. Here's where Samsung Blue will start to truly outshine LMQ, even in the 5v5s. We see Orianna, as mentioned before, picks up the Haunting Guise, and I don't like this pickup. I'm not necessarily a big fan of Leandries on Orianna in the first place, but with Rumble already having Leandries, I think a second pickup of Leandries is always a bad idea. Instead, she should have grabbed Rylai's Crystal Scepter. It's been a little buffed at this point in time. It's got 100 AP instead of 80. It gives the slow, it gives the extra HP for defense. It's just an all-around better pickup, I think, and allows her much stronger burst potential if she can get her ball onto Twitch. With Rylai's Crystal Scepter, it would have allowed them to slow and peel better against Maokai and Rengar, allowing them to focus on Kasten a little bit more. And the extra HP is just nice icing on the cake. In terms of items on Samsung Blue's side, Never mind. Into this fight, there's a big reason why LMQ loses this fight, is they're a little too grouped up. Kog'Maw shouldn't be on top of this Jarvan Orianna. You're really looking more for LMQ, even though they have the stronger 5v5 fight, to engage onto Samsung Blue. That's what's been working for them this whole time, is LMQ starting the engagements. And when we go back to this replay, we'll see how strong this Kassadin has become and is able to get this huge force pulse, I think it is, onto LMQ's team. Get the slow, allows Twitch to get long range damage. But it's at this point Samsung Blue are really starting to outscale. Since Maokai and Rengar haven't been getting a lot of kills, they've been slow to get up their tankiness, but now they've really reached it. We've got 3 tank items on Maokai, we've got 2 on Rengar. Since LMQ is so grouped up, slow, Twitch gets in, massive damage. And this is a little bit unfortunate. They're not respecting the line damage, the AoE damage of Samsung Blue. Just a little too grouped up. But with this strong front line, the 2 of Samsung Blue, and now Maokai's almost got even more tankiness, there's not a lot that LMQ can do if Samsung Blue are the engagements. Maokai Rengar are going to be able to throw a lot of chaos into the backline of LMQ. And here we see Samsung Blue getting a little bit overzealous. Rengar Twitch go in 2v5. It's just really unnecessary. It ends up costing them not only 2 kills, but the inhibitor. Samsung Blue with this Baron could have just slow pushed with their team. They already had the mid inhibitor. They could have taken their whole team to the bottom lane and moved into the turret. They were just so far ahead, and now that Janna has the locket as well, it's a huge negation to the damage of LMQ's team. Samsung Blue are just essentially reached the point where they're stronger in a 5v5 than LMQ, and LMQ's window of opportunity has really dropped out. So what we'll see from here is Samsung Blue will get their stuff back together and they'll start to push middle. And since they are stronger than LMQ in the 5v5, it's not too much more that can happen. Samsung Blue it's essentially at this point it's their game to throw. They have the potential to split push the sides. They can just straight run up the middle and try and pressure Nexus turrets. They can go for the inhibitors, which is really the option. Samsung Blue should be focusing the bottom inhibitor and just bring the 5v5 fight to LMQ. Twitch has his flash up, so this is great against LMQ's team. Sort of negates the Jarvan ultimate a little bit. So all the opportunity is in their side. While this happens, I'm going to talk a little bit about Kassadin versus Orianna. It's a matchup that's safe farming for both sides. Orianna really has no threat from Kassadin early on. Well, Kassadin is going to get flask, health pots, and be pretty safe to farm with his Q, getting the magic shield as well. There's just a lot of safety in both sides. The best thing Orianna can do is try and throw her ball out to zone Kassadin while using her auto attacks primarily for farming and for harassing Kassadin. She wants to save her mana, make sure she's got what she needs if she gets ganked, got what she needs if Jarvan's going to gank for her, and just try and zone him out. As the levels progress and Kassadin gets his ultimate, Orianna's going to move into her Chalice, her Athene's and Holy Grail, and that's at the point where she should start to highly pressure this Kassadin, clear out creep waves really quickly, force it into the turret, get a little bit of turret damage, and just be prepared to fight him. Orianna should be able to win the 1v1 fight, especially since Kassadin is going to be scaling up with the Rod of Ages. She has more power. Up until Actually, pretty much throughout most of the game, she's on even footing until this really late stage. Like right now, Cassidy is at 5 items, 6 items. He's truly a monster. We're going to see that come into play as well. So that's the matchup between Orianna and Cassidy. Cassidy himself just kind of has to get his farm that he needs, such as in every game. Avoid fights and just wait, scale up, look for opportunities to use that mobility at dragon fights and jungle objectives. So once again, just to go back at what LMQ could have done in this match, and really the only thing to say against LMQ's team is that early game. That first, or not that first dragon, but the second dragon, LMQ really dropped the ball. Their team was more powerful. They had options. They just needed to group up, take it when it spawned, and then back out. Unfortunately, since they did look for the stronger fight with Rumble having his ultimate, that time delay cost them hugely, potentially even the game. The second point, where was Kog'Maw in the middle, wanted to get that final third hit onto the turret, ends up getting flash snared by Maokai, costs LMQ another team fight. These 2 points in the mid game, in this early, 11 to 15 minute mark, is where LMQ really needed to shine and grow a gold lead, but instead they allowed Samsung Blue to have a gold lead. Because of these 2 portions of the game, Samsung Blue are ahead in gold throughout the rest of the match, and we see LMQ taking the fight to Samsung Blue, playing their 5v5 team properly, and even winning fights while being way behind. This works highly in their favor, and it's just unfortunate that they didn't have this lead early on. If LMQ had had that lead from the second dragon, gotten that third dragon as well, not had that bad fight in the middle, they could have been ahead 5,000-6,000 gold ahead of Samsung Blue and closed this game out around the 25-30 minute mark instead of reaching this 45-50 minute mark where Samsung Blue's team is now the stronger 5v5. So that's essentially this match. Samsung Blue, on their side, they played it really well in the early game. As it progressed into this sort of 30-minute mark, they've made quite a few mistakes in trying to fight 5v5s when they shouldn't have. But because they were ahead, they did end up working out. They went pretty even, and they were able to keep a gold lead throughout the match. And here we do see, since Maokai and Rengar have finally reached a tanky enough point, they run into the backline with Cassidy, absolutely destroy the backline. Samsung Blue essentially 3v4 in the backline, while Nami and Jarvan try and deal with Twitch and still lose out. So that's the game. I hope it's been informative. I hope it's been entertaining. I hope you can really see how some early game movements and a little bit of greed can get you in a huge amount of trouble. I hope you also take to heart how team compositions are strong and what they can do against others. We do see LMQ making some great moves towards the 20-25 minute mark. They learn that their team has to fight 5v5s and that they can't do anything else, so that's what they do, and they keep doing it over and over and over again. And while it doesn't end up with them getting the win, it does end up with them playing very strongly and making a good showing, as well as getting close to wins at some point. If they had let the game go in Samsung Blue's team compositions style, played the lanes out, farm on the sides, trying to scale later on, they would have just been completely dismantled by Samsung Blue. So that's something I would really think you should take away from this game. As always, the notes for this match can be found below, as well as the link to my 2014 League of Legends World Championships video analysis and notes portal page to every match that I have done or will do. Once again, I'm Keith, aka LoLByTheNumbers, and thanks for watching.